will now be placed into the conference. Everyone but you is muted on this call.
Welcome everyone to the Warren Fleet conference call. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode, but later you will have the opportunity to ask questions during the question and answer session. It's now my pleasure to turn the conference over to Joseph. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks, Luke. Hello, welcome everybody. It is June 9th, another wonderful day in the world of transportation. We're getting to that small part of the year where we don't have snow anywhere, and I love it. But we do have heat and humidity and thunderstorms and all the other slings and arrows in the world. Today on the call, you got myself, Joe Steffen, Director of Transportation or of Operations, and Peg Hoffman, Director of Safety.
Oh, you're also in
Safety, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Many hats.
Want to get us rocking?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, you know, there's a saying in Iowa, if you don't like the weather, guess what? It'll change tomorrow. So pretty much true. Excessive heat this week, so make sure everybody's staying hydrated, especially when you're tying down equipment or doing pre-trips and in-route inspections. Take it easy. Not just Iowa, it's gonna be all throughout the country, you know, in the coming months. So just you know the signs, right? Sometimes when I get a headache and start feeling funky, I realize, you know, I didn't drink really much water today, and I got like 5,000 steps, so, you know, which is a light day. But, you know, just your body is going to be your biggest indicator, so make sure that we're taking the appropriate steps, plenty of rest, stay hydrated, and try to eat as healthy as you can. It's been 18 days since our last preventable accident, okay? You know, every day it's a good day that number goes up. You know, just looking at this year versus last year, we're about the same. We've had about 14 preventable accidents through May, and I started doing a cost analysis, and you know, it's last year it was about $20,000 per crash, per preventable crash that it cost the contractor and more in transport. This year it's up $5,000, right? Everything's gone up. You know, price of food. Guess what? Price of crashes too. So you know, while we're having an okay year, one crash can really tilt things against our favor. And Joe mentions it great. You can never out-revenue a crash. Not only the contractor, but also a company. It takes a lot of loads to make up for a major crash. So, you know, in this week's talking points, you might have heard your fleet managers talk about lane changes. Those are the biggest ones. We've had 2 so far this year. I think last year we had about 6. A lot of those are high reserved accidents, potential for lawsuits, more than likely, just a really tax of not only time and money, but you know, just the bad accidents for potential for injury. So, you know, we decided to come up with, you know, we're going to be hammering this pretty hard in the next couple of weeks, and we came up with an acronym called LANE, right? LANE, right? What does that stand for? Well, hopefully your fleet managers are talking, but you know, the L stands for the simple thing of leave enough space. We talk about that safety cushion, driving to protect life, leave yourself an out. A lot of Smith system techniques are used in proper lane changes, but the key factor, number one, give yourself enough space so you can see what's around you, right? Never travel in the packs where it's congested and people sneak up on your blind spots. The A stands for activate your turn signals, right? It's recommended for 5 to 8 seconds of having your indicators on, so you can tell everybody, hey, guess what? I'm about to make a lane change. You know, don't speed up or you know, try to back off and let me make this as safe as possible. The N stands for navigate blind spots, all right? Just what we talked about, that space cushion. Also, when you're checking your mirrors, check them more than once. The lean and look method for your right side, because your right side has more blind spot, obviously, than your left. A really good technique that should be imprinted in our brains. And then finally, the E stands for ease into your lane. Okay, not a herky-jerky motion, but gradual, smooth and swift is what they like to refer it to. So other outlets in the industry use smog technique. You know, we're going to go with lane technique, right? We both say the same thing. Safe lane changes prevent the critical crashes that you see all the time. So let's really have that on the forefront of our minds. We're entering, you know, obviously the summer travel season. It's busy. People are on vacation. Campers out there, motorcycles, bicyclists, a lot of teenagers that are graduating that, you know, don't have that much experience driving. So we got a holiday weekend here in about 3 weeks, and so you know, let's have our head on a swivel. I also want to talk about tires. We had our CSA numbers come out for May, and our maintenance dropped. We got worse by 1%, and the common denominator in that is tires. That is 47% of our points, almost half. You know, we talk all the time about proper inflation, checking your tires, okay? Um, Historically, it's been the inside drives, but now we're seeing a combination of a lot of things. And the contractors are claiming that, well, I must have ran something over, right? Well, did we run something over yesterday or an hour ago or 2 days ago, right? Either we're the most unlucky company in the world if this is happening an hour before we're getting inspected by the DOT. Chances are it happened many hours or many days ago, and we just did a poor job of checking our tire inflation. So the DOT's checking that, and they're finding defects. Heck, even our terminals in Waterloo and Laredo, they're checking tire inflation. So please do not go into a terminal with underinflated or flat tires, because that's an indicator that you didn't check it and you just rolled in and we found it for you. Yeah, that's great. Not the DOT, but still, it costs a lot of money, and it's an indicator that you didn't check. So 47% of our points is tires. If we can just eliminate 25% of our tires, we're going to see our scores improve, in a couple months. So pay attention to that. And I want to end on a really good note. You know, we talk about family, and not only, the Warren family. It's employees. It's our families. It's you and your families. We're all interconnected in this under this flagship of Warren Transport. And Joe and I have been here a long time, and we can talk about a few things where family comes into play. My first case that I can think of was 2 years into my career at Warren. I drove down to Laredo, Texas, because I wanted to see the terminal. And there was a well-known contractor that had about 10 trucks named Andy Robles. And I made a detour to Carrizo Springs and met him and his wife, Maria, at their house and spent about 4 or 5 hours there. And she made me some tamales to take home. And that was just my first really true feeling that, wow, I belong. These guys opened their house to me, and they don't know me from Adam, but it really stuck with me, and then I look back, almost 30 years later, and Mark Jacobs just retired, a longtime flatbed dispatcher, and there was talks at his retirement party about how driver was hospitalized or cooped up sicker than a dog at a hotel because of COVID. And he, not the most tech savvy guy in the world, but he figured out Uber Eats, and he was able to send some food on his own dime to the contractor to make sure he was taken care of. So I just want to shout out to a couple contractors that did an act of kindness to one of our employees this weekend. We have an employee that her son is nonverbal autistic, and he just graduated from high school. So huge, big deal. And guess what? He loves trucks. So I had several contractors last weekend out of their own time do a truck convoy down to LaPorte City, and you absolutely made his day. So Belinda Carroll, Scott Johnson, Robert Garcia, John and Jess Smith, and Pete Osborne, thank you for carrying on that tradition of family here at Warren Transport. That gets me right in the feels. Unfortunately, I missed it. I had a ball game, but I got there, and I saw our employee's son just beaming from ear to ear, and it was because you guys 20 minutes ago did that truck convoy for him. So that selfless acts of kindness goes a long way, and I just want to shout out to you guys and really appreciate not only that, but everything else you do for Warren Transport that goes unseen, unnoticed, like treating our customers the way you do, being safe out there, and just being good around, all around great people to be associated with. So that's all I have, and I'll turn it back over to Joe.
All right, thanks, Ben. Hey, I'm going to have a few things to talk about. So number one, I'm always going to talk a little bit about loads and stuff like that. A while ago, when the market kind of turned south, I remember our company president saying that when there's fewer of the loads you like, you got to expand your funnel. The idea being that if you got a funnel and that's where the loads are that you haul, and there's not as many of them as there used to be, well, you got to expand that funnel and capture some more loads. So I'm going to take that in reverse, however, because we're in a positive market for trucking. We're in a rate market where the rates are growing. And so I want you to consider expanding your funnel from your comfort zone to look for and service the high dollar new business that we're booking for you. Folks, new business is going to be the wave of the future for us and you to increase your settlements. So be open-minded when you have a lane that you haven't hauled for before. Ask about it, get some details. We might not have all the details if it's maybe the second or third load we've hauled. But we're giving some people some high rates, some attractive rates, and they're looking for safe, reliable capacity. and we got the best fleet out there in the world, so that's why we're able to win the business. Not always at the cheapest rate, but at a rate that we can service it at so you can be profitable. So I just wanted to talk about, I thought about that, like I said, just in 23, 24, when the economy was going bad, that was something that really made sense to me, the idea of expanding your funnel to capture more diverse freight options. Well, right now you still expand the funnel, but it's less about, well, the one I want isn't there. It's more about, well, maybe the one I want is there, but maybe there's another one that actually might even be better. So give those a shot. Give those new customer lanes a shot. Help us to service them, to grow the business we have, so we can get more contractors like you out on the road. We got a lot of opportunity. We are turning down loads every day, loads that you would want to haul just because there's only so many of you to haul them. All right. So the second thing I have is that we have some new faces in van operations, and I want you to be kind, listen. So we've had a few people that opted to leave the company and a few people that have been promoted up within the company. So right now we've got Jake and Aaron, another Aaron. We got to get some nicknames going on. We're
AAA.
AAA, I think that's what we're going with.
Yep.
So we got a Jake and Aaron who are dispatching. They've been here a few weeks and about a month and a half respectively each. They both have different experiences. We had a lot of interest in the job. There's a lot of people that were interested in it. They're really strong candidates, and we got them onboarded. So say hi when you get them on the phone. Be nice. We want them to have a good experience. Help them out. They want to help you, and the best way that they're going to learn, ask them questions, get the information you need, ask challenging questions, but talk to them and work with them, and let's build our team up on the road and in the office to work together. One of the things I like to talk about is trucking as a tug of war. And there's one side of the rope that's weather, that's traffic, that's loads and problems with loads and all that. And then on the other side is the contractor driver and his support team. And we want to be on that same side of that tug of war. All right. Safety. I'm going to talk about safety. I know this week's talking points are lane changes, but folks, I want to hit back on lytics and the following distance events and the overall lytic score and really what our expectation is. Like, really, the goal is 0. The goal is that you have your 6 seconds following distance and that you pitch a perfect game. Maybe you won't, but over half, the goal is 0 lytics events, and over half of the drivers on our van division are either there or like very, very close with like 3 points or 4 points total in the last month. So if you log in and you see your score and you wonder what goes into that, when you're looking at your driver app to turn in paperwork and you see it says lytic score and it's in the green or it's in the yellow or whatever it's in, understand most of our drivers are in the green. And if you're one of those drivers, thank you. But the goal is 0. There's no safe, there's no reason or excuse for a crash to have occurred that you could have prevented. There's never a time when we say, oh, well, I guess we were in a hurry, so it's probably okay that we had that one. So the goal is 0 events. Over half of you are doing it already. Let's get everybody on the same page. And then the last thing I have is the April truck washes. So Richard Bauman, Gary Bowers, Brian Tisch, and Will Smith, not the actor, are winners of the truck washes for the month of April. So stay tuned in July for the May truck washes. And with that, Luke, could you remind our callers how to register for a question?
Hi, everyone. We'll open up for questions. If you would like to ask a question, please go ahead and press #1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's #1 on your telephone keypad. I don't see any questions, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Luke. And thank you especially all the drivers out there working hard out in the beating sun, the wind and rain, and all the elements that you get to deal with. We appreciate your hard work and look forward to having another productive week. Thank you.